Good afternoon. This is the Algebra 2 video on finding inverses, and we will go over this in our next class. And so let's just get started. We did a little activity in class today, which you guys did a great job on, where we found out that basically inverses occur when you switch the x variable with the y variable. So the most important part of this lesson that I'm going to teach you about for this year, in this crazy COVID year, is down here under on the bottom half of the page. But I'm just going to go over a few things real quick up here on the top half of the page, just so you get an overall picture. An inverse function maps the output values, those are the y's, okay, back onto their original input values, which are the x's. That basically means the y's become the outputs become the input, and the inputs become the outputs. And that's just a fancy way of saying the x's and the y's switch places. So that's what we say here. So you just interchange the x and y values. This means that the domain of the inverse relation is the range Remember, domain and range mean x and y. The domain of the inverse relation is the range of the original one, and the range of the inverse is the domain. Okay? The biggest thing is the notation. If you have a function f of x, then the inverse becomes f to the negative 1 power of x. So that's f inverse of x right there. So that's the inverse. Okay? All right. So I really am not concerned with right now today the answers to these questions. So we'll just leave those blank for now. I am interested in this, the inverse function. The x's are 4, 2, 0, negative 2, and negative 4, and the y's of the inverse are negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. How did I get that? I just switched the x's and the y's. Okay? Simple. So if I were to graph, and I think what it wants me to do is to graph this function, but basically I'm going to pause it and graph this function real quick. So guys, if I graph this original relation in red, it's the parabola that looks like this, a little U-shaped path. And now I'm going to pause it and graph the inverse function in blue. Okay, so hang tight. So guys, now I graph the inverse function in blue. And what you see is it's a reflection over this line y equals x. That's another way to look at inverse functions, is if you were to fold the paper along this line, these two graphs would be on top of each other, okay? So that is, how I know that two functions are inverses. Basically, sorry, move the paper over. Basically, if you were to take two functions and you would do the composition, like g of f of x, which we talked about in class, or f of g of x, if you do the composition of two inverses, then your resulting function is just going to be equal to x. Crazy enough, but I'll show you what I mean by this. If I take 2x minus 4 and 1/2 x plus 2, and I remove the x in this one and put 1/2 x plus 2 in there, 1/2 x plus 2, and work it out, I multiply this out, and I get 2 times 1/2 is 1x, okay, plus 4 when I distribute, minus 4. 4 minus 4, positive 4 and negative 4 cancel out. So the inverse function that I did, which was f of g of x, or whatever, the composition of functions that I did is equal to 1x or just x. So you can see how I got. So that's just a little thing to understand about inverse functions, is when you do the composition, it will always equal x, okay? I'm 6 minutes in. That's fine. I'm about to do my 2 examples, and I'll be done. So we kind of did this in class today, but so we're going to just first start by changing f of x to y. So y equals 3x minus 8. And then I'm going to change the x and the y and solve for y. So x equals 3y minus 8. Now I'm going to add 8 to both sides. So x plus 8 equals 3y. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So x plus 8 over 3 equals y. And I'm just going to switch it back to the inverse notation, and I'm going to switch. We'll put the y over here on this side. F inverse of x equals x plus 8 over 3. There you go. That's it. This one's a little tougher, but I'll just do it real quick, and then we'll be done for the notes today, believe it or not. Y equals 6x squared minus 5. X equals 6y squared minus 5. Now I've got to add 5 to both sides. X plus 5 equals 6y squared. Divide both sides by 6. Y squared equals x plus 5 over 6. Now this may blow your minds a little bit, but we do need to get rid of this exponent here. We do need to take the square root of both sides. So y is equal to the square root of x plus 5 over 6. So f inverse of x equals the square root of x plus 5 over 6. There you go. That's basically all we're going to really do with inverses is this right here. I definitely think it's good to know some of this information up here, certainly. So hopefully this lesson that we do the next time I see you will be fairly simple, because we've done some pretty complicated stuff the past few days. All right. See you soon.